Hello and welcome to the Rugby Gods podcast. I'm John Keenan. No mai haere mai. Today is June 12th and now let's talk some rugby. So alright, Super Rugby Aotearoa is upon us. Okay, so it's starting tomorrow on the 13th, Saturday the 13th. First game is going to be in Dunedin. It's going to be the Highlanders against the Chiefs. So I'm just going to talk really quickly around, this game and then the following game on Sunday. There's only two games, right? Only, 5 teams, 4 teams playing, 1 team has a bye, 2 games. So pretty simple sort of series or competition. And I'm basically going to provide a couple of links to sort of like match day home pages, if you will. So they should be in the show notes. And you can just look by yourself as to what the full squad is, who's starting, who's playing, who's not playing, injured, etc. I might talk about a few of those people, but I'm not going to systematically go through it. I think that's fairly easy entry level kind of information that you can find by yourself, and you don't need to come here, or you don't need to come and listen to me for that, or certainly not today. I'm also under a little bit of time pressure. So this, truly will be a pretty quick one because I really can't stick around too much. And I said, I would do a Friday, check-in pre, round 1, a little bit of a preview or just, pre-round 1. And I guess, since I last talked to you, which was a few days ago, if you watched that podcast, thanks a lot. We now actually have the team sheets, right? So we know who's playing, which is great. And yeah, let's just talk around a couple of the matchups. Who's going to win? What do I think? And then, best of luck. Let's see what happens on the weekend, right? So yeah, starting with this first game tomorrow, Saturday game, round 1, game 1. It's in Dunedin. It's the Highlanders versus the Chiefs. I'm going to start with the home team. I'm going to start with the Highlanders and just go through a few of the selections. So quite interesting to see Mitchell Hunt. You'll probably know him from the Crusaders. He moved down to Dunedin or the Highlanders this year, start of this year, 2020. He's played pretty much I think maybe started every game at the start of the year. That first sort of 7-week block. Basically, Mitch Hunt got the nod to be the Highlanders 10, and for this match they put him back to fullback. So he's going to start at fullback, and Josh Ioane, who was a peripheral All Black last year, played very well for the Highlanders when they obviously didn't have Mitch Hunt, who would have been at the Crusaders then. He played really well in Super Rugby in 2019, and he was very good at 10. He was actually very good at 12, and he was pretty reasonable at 15 as well. So he showed a lot of versatility, and he pretty much put himself in as he was peripherally in the All Blacks and got 1 test. Didn't make the World Cup squad, but was obviously next cab off the rank if something had happened to the first 5s or the utility position. So very much in and around the All Blacks last year, but was basically denied the opportunity to play 10 at the start of the year. So he's been given first shot at shotgun to basically ride or control, drive everything from 10, which I think will be very interesting, and I think it will be a changed Highlanders for that. I think Ioane's combination with Aaron Smith at halfback, obviously Aaron Smith, All Black, world class halfback. I think those two work really well together, and I think you'll see some differences in the way that the Highlanders are playing, as opposed to the start of the year, which was actually pretty horrendous, it must be said. And was certainly underperforming anyway. So Hunt is going to be at 15, Ioane is going to start at 10. Other interesting news there is they've got a man called Gilbert. Sorry, I don't have the team sheets, like I said before, in front of me. I'm just kind of spitballing here. I believe his name is Gilbert. His surname, that is. I've actually never seen or heard this guy play, so I'll be pretty interested to see. Pretty sure they're starting him on the wing, so I think he's going to be on the right wing for them, which I find to be pretty interesting because they've got quite a lot of talent in the wings. He's been given the nod, so yeah, pretty interesting there. It's interesting to see how he goes. And I'm sorry I can't actually remember his first name, but I know his surname is Gilbert. and I'm not exactly sure how he's pushed his way in, what kind of rugby he's been playing or where, but you know, there you go, he's getting the start. So yeah, I might have to find out a little bit more about him. He was a definite surprising pick. Rest of the back line is pretty standard. It's a good midfield of Rob Thompson and Seo Tompkinson, backed up by Te Walden. So you know, there's quite a lot of depth there in the midfield. If you push into the forwards, you know, it's, you know, pretty stock standard tradesman, loose forward trio. You know, kind of what you'd expect, or what you can basically expect and or can be offered or provided by the Highlanders in 2020. So not too much there. Same with the locks. And they've given Ash Dixon the start with Liam Coltman, again the you know, a 2019 Rugby World Cup sort of like hooker number 3 for the All Blacks. He's on the bench, so they've got a pretty good 1-2 punch with, you know, Ash Dixon, New Zealand Maori representative, and Liam Coltman, you know, peripheral All Black squad player, to 1-2 punch at hooker. They've obviously got, you know, great service and a great halfback, you know, world class halfback in Aaron Smith, playing Mitch Hunt back at 15, which I think is actually where he should be quite comfortable, because he's really kind of been that kind of fix-it guy off the bench for the Crusaders a lot. You know, maybe playing garbage time, close out a game at 10 perhaps, but often coming on and actually playing 15 for the Crusaders over the last sort of, you know, 2, 3, 4 years as well. So I think, you know, you're getting some things right there if you're the Highlanders. If you're looking at kind of the spine, you know, like where are they looking good? They're looking good in the spine. They've got a really good 1-2 punch at hooker, world-class halfback who works well with an up-and-coming Josh Ioane at 10, and then you've got, you know, the experience of Mitch Hunt, who's, I think, more comfortable either as a utility and or 15 than a starting 10 at Super Rugby. So yeah, a lot to actually like about that spine with the Highlanders, which, you know, actually fills me with a bit more confidence in their performance. At the start of the week, without seeing their team naming, or, you know, both teams being named, I picked the Chiefs to win by 5. You know, which in my mind kind of means that they're like a 15-point better team. You know, I generally give the New Zealand teams in a derby a +10 star. So yeah, I might have to come back quite shortly and maybe adjust my pick there, because, you know, like I said, I'm actually pretty optimistic for a really good Highlanders showing with that spine. If we have a look at who they're playing, the Chiefs, again, I'll just quickly go through a couple of key positions. So yeah, if we start out in the backs, very interesting. Aaron Cruden will be on the bench. So again, obviously pretty world-class player, certainly was a couple of years ago. You know, 1-2 titles for the Chiefs, been in and around the All Blacks for many years. I think he's a 50 Test veteran for the All Blacks, and obviously he's coming back sort of this year on his way between, well, before coronavirus, he was essentially on his way between you know, a stint in France and then a further stint in Japan. So it's an interesting year to pick him up. You would have thought you'd start him with all that experience, all that quality, but they've gone with Caleb Trask, which is kind of what they did at the start of the year in the very first competition, i.e. like Super Rugby when it started normally at the start of this year, back in, amazingly, January. That was the end of January. Cruden in that round 1 game was also on the bench behind Trask, and the Chiefs kind of got into a bit of a hole at Eden Park, were behind by quite a lot, and they pretty much had to bring Cruden on at half-time, and then he was a massive driver, a massive instigator of their you know, significant comeback in that game, where they, you know, they went on and won, and it was pretty much on the back of him. So I mean, obviously they were probably hoping not to actually have to, you know, go to the well like that again, but I mean, they are experimenting, or they're starting the same way as they did at the start of the season, giving Trask a shot, hoping that he plays, you know, plays to his potential, plays well, and, you know, basically maybe, you know, you see Cruden at 55, 60 minutes, something like that, rather than half-time. Obviously, another benefit for the Chiefs is they've got fully fit Damien McKenzie at 15, so he can take some of the first receiver pressure off Trask, both on defense and attack, just in terms of, you know, he can clearance kick defensively, and, or, you know, positionally, territorially, and he can obviously also, just come into the line and be first receiver, or, run off Trask, or, have two options basically from the ruck, which is going to give Trask more time. It's going to make, the Highlanders more indecisive and have to mark up on Mackenzie. So, those are good things. Anton Leonard-Brown in the midfield, along with Quinn Tupaia. Quinn Tupaia is very much unfinished, like he's a rough diamond. He looks like he's going to be a really good player, but he is very young. He hasn't got too much experience, certainly not at Super Rugby level. He's a couple of seasons in the ITM Cup, or sorry, I should say the Mitre 10 Cup, just New Zealand NPC, New Zealand Provincial Comp, but not too much at Super Rugby level. So he's going to be up against some real quality in what the Highlanders are bringing. They've got a very experienced midfield for Super Rugby level, plus a very good backup like squad player there as well. So yeah, he's going to have a tough night at the office, but he's partnering up with Anton Leonard-Brown, so that should be pretty exciting. And then if you look at their wingers as well, they've got Sean Wainui and Sean Stevenson, I believe, as well. So again, a couple of interesting picks or non-picks. There's no room for Solomon Alaimalo. There's a few people missing in action there, and Brad Weber is actually going to captain the Chiefs as well from 9. So that will be quite interesting. That'll be a huge battle. Weber's been playing pretty amazing over the last couple of seasons, couple of years, for all teams that he's been involved with, and obviously he's going to get a chance to go head to head with Aaron Smith. So that's a real quality 9-9 matchup there. If you move into the Chiefs forwards, they've got Peter Gus Suakula is playing at 8, I believe, Fijian. He's pretty good. He's certainly very good, I think, at Super Rugby level. He's a quality player. They've got Jacobson back as well, Luke Jacobson, I believe that is right, who's kind of had like on and off, had some pretty bad injuries or sort of like concussion issues, etc. So that's a big pickup for them. But they don't have Sam Cane. Sam Cane is not playing. He has some sort of back injury. Apparently it's pretty minimal, but they're not playing him. Or I think he was available, but they just decided, hey, we'll give you another week's rest. You're not playing this one. So yeah, pretty interesting, because obviously he's the All Black captain in waiting, and I believe he is also still the current Chiefs captain. So that means that Weber will captain with him away or not playing. If you go a little bit further into the locks and props, the type 5, the locks, props, hooker position. Like Nathan Harris was gone at the start of the year, and he's still gone. I'm just trying to think. It's pretty stock standard. Chiefs is kind of, they're picking who you would expect, or there's not too much surprise there. And then they have lost Nepo Laulala and Atu Moli for the campaign, I believe. No, Nepo Laulala is playing. I'm sorry. They've lost Angus Ta'avao, or Angus Ta'avao is not actually available for this game. I think he will be available in the future. And Atu Moli is gone for the entire competition. So yeah, there are a couple of All Black props down. So yeah, they might be a little bit light in that type 5, which again I think plays into the Highlanders' hands. They probably really kind of needed that to make this game truly competitive. So yeah, I like the look of both teams, or I like the way they match up. They're sort of like a perfect mismatch, if you will. Like wherever the Highlanders look strong, the Chiefs look a little bit weak. Wherever the Chiefs look like they've got a chink in the armour, the Highlanders look likely, pretty good. So I think there'll be some definite mismatches to be exposed there, and I think that'll make for an exciting match. Obviously as well, I think head to head, squad depth, etc. You would definitely favour the Chiefs over the Highlanders. But because this is a home game for the Highlanders, like I've said before, I generally give them a +10, or give any New Zealand team a +10 at home in a derby. So I think that really tightens up what's going to happen on Saturday. From memory, the Chiefs were paying only a day or two ago, I think on Wednesday. They're only paying $1.30 at the New Zealand TAB, like the New Zealand sports bookies. which is an incredibly low price. Well, that's a big favorite tag, but I wouldn't say I'm that excited, or I don't think I'm as optimistic or as bullish as that. I think the Highlanders are going to perform pretty well. So yeah, I'll come back to a score pick when I basically sign off after the second game. So yeah, I mean, that is basically the entree for me, right? And then the main course is obviously going to be the Hurricanes game on Sunday. Round one, second game Sunday is going to be at Auckland, and it's going to be the Blues against the Hurricanes. So what an exciting matchup for me, and I think for a lot of people, just for many different reasons. So yeah, I mean, let's get into it. They're expecting something like 35,000 to the game, which is really awesome as well. Obviously on Monday, I told you in the last podcast that crowd attendance would be possible, but I was unaware that New Zealand had actually gone back to like COVID-19 level 1, which equals normal. So I was thinking that there was going to be crowd attendance, but maybe it was like you had to sit in every second seat, or wear masks, or you can't kind of like stand together in the terraces and things like that. But it's just no, like New Zealand is like completely over the coronavirus, or COVID-19 at present. So it's actually on level 1, which is normal. So the crowds are just free to come and be as as safe and protective as they want, or as party as they want. So that's pretty amazing, or like that's an incredible response from New Zealand, and it's the competition is very lucky for that. So yeah, there's going to be 35,000 plus at Eden Park, which is going to make for a great occasion. Sunday afternoon rugby, great times. Hopefully the weather plays its part there. They are playing up in Auckland, so the weather never gets too nasty really in Auckland, I think, especially if you're comparing it to, say, the likes of Dunedin or Wellington, even Christchurch, I guess. So yeah, hopefully good weather, and it's going to be a monster crowd for a super game. And yeah, let's just have a quick look through those teams. So yeah, I'm going to start with the Blues. Obviously it was signposted pretty clearly. Dan Carter signed on, but he wasn't going to be available. He wasn't going to be fit for game 1. That was telegraphed pretty early, a week or two back, or a week and a half ago, whenever he signed on. So no surprises there. He's not in the 23. What else can we say? Beauden Barrett will play and will start, but he's going to be starting at 15, so that's quite interesting. Hasn't been given the nod to play 10. Possibility obviously that we will see him slide into 10, maybe if need to be, if they're chasing the game, or maybe just if things are going exceptionally well. We'll see what the plan is there, but he is starting at 15, and Oteri Black has retained his 10 spot, where he's been really actually pretty amazing for the Blues in that first sort of 2 months of the competition back in February, March. So yeah, again, pretty good. Just trying to think of anything else special there. Rico Ioane is going to be playing at centre, so they've moved him one in. He won't be on the wing. So again, there's a couple of little plans, like maybe future plans, or like seeds are being sown for like where the future lies for maybe some of these big, Blue stars, or New Zealand All Black stars. It sort of seems like Beauden Barrett is really, getting into his work as a 15, if you know what I mean. I guess it's to be seen how Oteri Black continues to perform, but indications are from game 1 for Beauden Barrett that he's going to be like a fullback basically for the Blues, especially with Stephen Perifetta out with that season injury. So that's basically backing up his body of work with the All Blacks last year, where he was primarily, pretty much solely a 10 for the Hurricanes, but then had to play fullback for the All Blacks. Well, now it's like, no, I'm actually a Super Rugby fullback, and I'll then continue to play there. So definitely a few jigsaw pieces sort of being put together there, and you couple that with Rico Ioane, starting multiple games now at 13 for the Blues as well. So maybe the days of seeing Rico Ioane on the wing are coming to an end. maybe the days of seeing Beauden Barrett start a test match at 10 are coming to an end or have already finished. And obviously Richie Mo'unga is sort of like the guy, right? Well, that seems to be the way it's the pieces are kind of fitting in there. And Rieko Ioane is definitely going to make things interesting because if you think about that, that's really healthy competition with the likes of Jack Goodhue, Anton Leonard-Brown at the Chiefs, and then Ngani Laumape at the Hurricanes, as well as himself. I mean, that's 4 quality centres right there for the All Blacks, if that's the path they want to go down for any tests in 2020 and what happens in 2021. So basically Ioane in the midfield, Beauden Barrett at fullback starting, and Otiri Black at 10 starting. Into the forwards, it was a little bit interesting. Again, I don't think there's any room or any place for Akira Ioane. Seems to be well off the mark or out of favour. Pretty sure Hoskins Satutu is going to be playing in starting 8. And I think Dalton Papali'i is on the bench as well. So a couple of kind of like star players, maybe not in the 23 or not starting. A little bit surprising there perhaps. But you go through the rest of it, and again, it's pretty stock standard. It's kind of what you would think the Blues would provide. Like it's the guys you'd expect them to play are playing basically. In the Type 5, etc. So if we go over to the Hurricanes, let's start in the backs again, like I've been doing. So Jackson Garden-Bishop has been given the nod at 10. He's recovered from his broken. I believe he broke some part of his arm, back in March, and he's obviously recovered from that now. And he'll be starting at 10 for the Hurricanes, which is great. I far prefer him to Fletcher Smith. No disrespect, or not too much disrespect there, but just what I've seen of the two players over the last couple of years for different teams at the provincial level, at the Super Rugby level. I think Garden-Bishop is by far the better starting 10. So I'm really glad that he's got the start. And then the unfortunate part though for the Hurricanes is Jordie Barrett has been ruled out with injury, so he will not be playing 15. He will not be marking his brother, which would have been pretty epic, pretty awesome little story inside of a story, right? Or story inside of a battle, but or battle inside of a war, whatever, however you want to phrase that. But not to be. So we're going to have to wait a few more weeks for that Jordie Barrett v Beauden Barrett, maybe fullback competition or head-to-head comp. So that's a bit of a dagger for the for the Hurricanes. I'm sure it'll be fine for the All Blacks. I hear that his injury is pretty minimal, and it's maybe like 1 game, 2 games out. So he should be pretty heavily involved in this competition. That's Jordie Barrett I'm referring to. What else you got there? Well, obviously TJ Perenara is starting 9, which is great. He's the co-captain with Dane Coles. So Hurricanes coming pretty strong, pretty correct there with Coles at hooker, starting hooker, and Perenara at starting 9, and they're both co-captains. The interesting thing for me with that sort of co-captaincy is you've got, they're 2 quality players. They've got a lot of mana inside of the Hurricanes. I have no issue with them sharing the captaincy and being co-captains. I think they're the right people for the job. But, when you look at Perenara's role as a 9, that's sort of, in this day and age, it's sort of like a 60, 70 minute kind of role. It's pretty hard to play 80 minutes as, a starting 9. And then if you look at a hooker, it's kind of even worse, like the modern hooker now, often only playing sort of 50, 55, maybe 60 minutes. And Coles is backed up by Asafa Almore. So, I'm sure the Hurricanes will want him on for, 20, 25 minutes to give punch at the back of the game. So, you've kind of got 2 justifiable, like very renowned Hurricanes. And I don't have any issue with them both being co-captains, etc. But they're both sort of playing in attritional roles, where it's pretty hard to see either of them playing a full 80 minutes. So it sort of means that, I don't know, if the game's tight, game's close, you're probably going to have lost both your co-captains, unless there's a plan to push TJ Perenara out to 10 to finish the game as a first 5. And I think that might be a little nugget that maybe I can provide for you there, or that's certainly my tip. Because if you look at the Hurricanes, they have a 6-2 split. They have Jamie Booth as backup halfback or backup 9. And then they have Billy Proctor, Matt Proctor's younger brother, is essentially backing up the midfield, could possibly play wing at a stretch. So really, they're wanting, they're either wanting, Garden Bishop to play a 480, which they may very well get out of him, or if things go bad there, or he picks up an injury. I'm assuming the only real legit cover, especially with Geordie Barrett not playing, is to push Perenara 1 out to 10, and that way you probably could get a good 65-70 minutes from Perenara at 9, and then finish the game with him at 10, which would be quite interesting. And I'm actually pretty happy about that, or if that's sort of the strategy, the strategic planning of the Hurricanes. I quite like that. I would have probably liked to have seen James Marshall in the 23 as opposed to Billy Proctor. I don't really feel like the midfield needs to be backed up. It's a pretty dynamic midfield of Aso and Laumape. Kind of hope that maybe both those players can play a 480 for a start. But on top of that, you've got Wes Hurson on one wing with Ben Lamb on the other, and Hurson can certainly play obviously a winger, but he can push into the centres as well. So I kind of feel like Hurson can sort of cover the midfield from wing. And I really kind of feel like James Marshall might have been the better utility, especially if you're going in with 6 forwards and only 2 backs, and Jamie Booth, essentially being just a specialist halfback. You kind of want that 10-15 to be covered maybe a little bit better than what Billy Proctor can provide. But there it is. That's the way it is. If you go into the forwards, it's quite interesting. Evans is there, Karifi's there, Princep is there, so that's a pretty good back row. And if you go into the locks, I believe they're starting with Scrafton and Blackwell, so they've kind of got good height, conventional, classical lock in Scrafton, and then you've kind of got your undersized lock, hardworking, just massive engine, undersized, small guy in terms of Blackwell, but just huge engine, just on a great work rate around the field. So Scrafton to win the ball, and then Blackwell to just secure the ball at ruck time, I guess. And then if you go into the front row, like I said, Coles is co-captain and starting at hooker, which is great. I believe Tyrell Lomax is also starting. He had a 3 or 4 week suspension in the last game when they played the Blues. The last time he got a red card. I think he got a 3 or 4 week suspension for that, but that's all served and that's all done. So yeah, they've got the Hurricanes have got some nice. They've got a really nice 4-pack there. I quite like it. And then the absolute sweetener is that you've got Asafa Aumua for the 1-2 punch with Dane Coles. You've also got Isaiah Walker-Leawere at basically at lock, backing up the locks. Again, another like classical lock in terms of like big guy, a target in the line out, can do work. Big physical guy. So I feel like he'll be there for Scrafton. I think you would say Blackwell will just play the 480 and be sort of like almost like a second blindside 6. And then if you look, like I said before, I've said a couple of times, the Hurricanes are playing 6-2 split, which means that they've actually got 2 loose forwards, and those loose forwards are Vaya Fafita and Adi Savia. So I mean, the fireworks, the firepower that the Hurricanes are going to be able to unleash in that second half is going to be pretty impressive. Around that 50 to 60 minute mark, you should be seeing the likes of Asafa Aumua at hooker, Walker-Leawere somewhere at lock, Vaya Fafita perhaps at 6, and then Adi Savia perhaps 7 or 8. You be the judge, or you choose what you want to do there, Hurricanes. But I mean, that's a huge amount of energy, and if the game is tight, I think the Hurricanes are looking, it's certainly looking pretty good for the Hurricanes, I think. But that's the thing, right? Can the Hurricanes actually keep it tight, and allow those guys to come on and actually play, a cameo, like a meaningful cameo? We'll see. So yeah, I'm going. That's 30 minutes, and like I said, I've got to keep this one pretty short. I'm time pressured, so just going to give you my predictions, and then basically that's it. Hopefully that was a little bit of fun for you. Like I said, I'll put some links to the actual like match pages, and you can go through and look at all 23 players and the squads, etc. You can look at the betting odds and all that. Like, you can find that stuff in a newspaper or online. So I don't think I need to do it, or I don't think you want to listen to me do it. So yeah, let's go back to the first game there. So round 1, first game, Highlanders at home to the Chiefs. So I'm giving the Highlanders basically a +10 start for being at home, and I did have, at the start of the week, I did have the Chiefs to win by 5. I'm now revising that, and I've got the Chiefs to win by 2. So I think that's going to be an absolute humdinger. I think it's going to be really tight. Like I've said before, they basically just perfectly mismatch. So there's just so many opportunities for both teams to sort of expose weakness and then have their weaknesses exposed. So I'm really excited about that matchup. And obviously because it's at home in Dunedin, I believe they're also expecting a pretty decent crowd, something like 20,000. I really do feel like, with home advantage, with big home crowds, in this COVID environment in New Zealand, the 10 plus or the 10 plus or the 10 plus margin at home is a very valid thing, and I think the Highlanders are going to use that to good effect to keep themselves very competitive in this game. So I still see them going down, but I think it's going to be Chiefs by 2. It's going to be really close, that game. And then second game on Sunday, so round 1, game 2. It's the Blues at home to the Hurricanes in Auckland, Sunday afternoon. And again, Blues are at home, so I give them +10. And I see the Blues winning. I actually said, I believe at the start of the week, I said +12. Now I see that gap closing. I actually think the Hurricanes are looking like they're going to match up very well. Obviously, a lot depends on Jackson Garden-Bishop and how well he does at 10. And obviously, a huge amount depends on like how good is Beauden Barrett on his rested return after sort of 6 months of rugby. But yeah, I'm actually going to close that margin. So I actually believe the Hurricanes are going to match up and maybe even play better in the game. But I don't really believe they're going to be able to overcome, that home crowd, that 35,000 plus home crowd, home advantage for the Blues. So I see that game, Blues winning by 6. So I have the Chiefs to win away by 2, and I have the Blues to win at home by 6. That's the way I see it. So yeah, hopefully some of that was interesting for you, and yeah, hopefully you are pretty excited like I am, and hopefully you're just going to be watching the games. And yeah, I'll be back on Monday, a few days from now, to obviously review that round, review those 2 games, and maybe on that Monday I'll be a little bit more analytical and have a few things in front of me. I think that's it's more important to sort of dive in after the fact rather than get all like pre-hype. But what's the point, right? So let's dissect what actually happens. I think that's kind of like better. So yeah, thanks very much. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. If you did, please can you subscribe to this channel? You should be watching this on YouTube. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Where you are now, I'm assuming. It's the Rugby Gods podcast. The Rugby Gods podcast. Yeah, that's it. That's the channel on YouTube. If you search that, you should find it. Give me a subscription. That would be amazing. Also, please, if you're on Facebook, if you use Facebook, can you give me a like at my Facebook page, which again is the Rugby Gods podcast. Yeah, you should be, again, search for that and you should find it. I post a bit more stuff there, post some articles, post some photos, post some memes, blah blah blah. So, and do a bit of commenting into rugby groups, etc. from there. So yeah, it's a little bit more interactive. So yeah, please give me a like there and give me a subscription on YouTube and give me a like on Facebook. Awesome, thanks. And also, yeah, if you want to chat, yeah, send me a private message through Facebook or at the Rugby Gods page. Just send me a private message there. You can do that, or just put a comment below this video here at YouTube. Those are good things. And yeah, if you want to get in touch with me further, I have an email address at the About tab on this on this video or underneath this video, go to About. You should find a Gmail email account, and you can message me there if it's a little bit more serious what you want to chat about, or if you want me to come on to a program, or you want to be on this podcast, etc. Because, like I've said a couple of times, I genuinely do have a couple of irons in the fire there, which will be really cool for me, and obviously the more the merrier in terms of being on other people's shows and people coming on this show. Just got to get my technology sorted out a little bit better than I have. So yeah, thank you very much. 35 minutes, and yeah, it really is time for me to say adios, or sayonara, or ka kite anoa, if you're speaking a little bit of te reo, which I like to do from time to time, being a Pacific Islander. No, just kidding. Oh well, I'm not really kidding, but I am a Pacific Islander. But hey, let's move away, or like not even touch any of that kind of topic. So thanks for all of that. I hope you're safe. I hope you're well. I hope your country is doing really awesome stuff with the coronavirus. The country I live in at present, live and work in, is Taiwan, and it's doing a fantastic job. It's basically kicked coronavirus down the street. And obviously my home country, New Zealand, has done the same thing. So yeah, hopefully the fight against the viruses going well wherever you are as well. So yeah, stay safe. I'm going to sign out there. Just, enjoy your rugby, enjoy life, stay positive, and yeah, just love the rugby, right? It's going to be an awesome week, or an awesome weekend. All right then, I'll see you later. Ka kite anua. Bye-bye.